Well, wouldn't you know it? I found a few more things that I wanted to show you. Um, One of the we talked about changing camera modes and elevations and things like that. Let me close down these things here. What we didn't talk about was elevation views. And so if I open my south, come on. My mouse is like moving slow for some reason. Let's see. I'm going to shut my crop off on this thing and let's tile these things. Okay, so I can change. We showed how we can make lots of changes with the floor plan and then change the camera over here. And this works pretty much the same in both orthographic and perspective. But if I come into my elevation view, here we can see the camera, and then we've got two items for the target. Now this is, the elevation is looking, straight on elevation wise, whereas our 3D view is not parallel to any of our planes. But we can still adjust camera. And, I can change elevation, distance of the camera and stuff like that. But what we've got here for the target is we've actually got two icons. And one moves it in and out parallel to my elevation plane. And the other one moves it up and down, still working with my elevation plane. So that's just another way to look at, making these changes, okay? Now, let's go to a perspective view. And let me open the site also. Okay. Here we can see where our camera is and the view on that and the angle of the view and everything. If I come in my perspective view and I come over here to my navigation wheel and I open it up, and you can certainly use this. It takes a little getting used to, but it's really useful when you're creating the walkthroughs, if you remember doing that last year. What I want to do here is open up the wheel and then right click, and this gives you a whole bunch of options that we're going to look at a few of these. The first one I want to look at excuse me, is increase and decrease focal length. Now, if you think of perspective views as using an old school camera with a lens on it, before we started using our phones for cameras, a lens had a focal length, and some of them were fixed, some of them were zoom lenses. Okay, that's what we're dealing with here. Is we're dealing with what's known as focal length, and couldn't remember if it would. Okay, and so here we can see the change. And what this is doing is changing the angle of my view. Okay, so there's another way for you to adjust adjust your views. Okay, now let's see. Look at my notes. All right, so let me close these, and Let me just bring up an orthographic view here. I can make changes because the normal default, let me turn off crop. The normal default is the front right corner. Okay, that's your home. And so if I want to change that, I come over here, there's a little context menu here for the view cube. And so I can click that and I can make these changes to this view. So let's say for whatever reason, I want this to be my home view. And this is just for this 3D view. It doesn't affect anything else. So I would make the change, go to the context menu, and come down here, set current view as home. Okay, and so now, no matter how I move it, if I hit the home button, it takes me back to that view. Okay. Another thing that we can do is say we want to change the front. And this is just for this view, doesn't affect anything else in the project. Is we can come in here and set front view. And let's say I'm going to go with the west side being the, we'll say the west is the front of the house. No, let's say east, since that's where the door is, isn't it? No, the door was here. The kitchen is over there. But you can see in my view cube here that now the front view is what was the east side of the building, and it still is the east side of the building. And this is just for this orthographic view that has been done to. Okay. Now, if I want to create a 3D view to some other views, so I'm going to come down here. I want to duplicate my original 3D. Oh, it's still got that thingy in it. We'll have to change that. Okay. So let me duplicate that and rename it. Rename. And I'm going to call it 3D floor plan. I was hitting the button on my speaker there. Okay. And so now I can context. Okay, I want to go orient to view floor plan, and if you have multiple floor plans, you can choose, multiple ones. So I'm going to go with the level 1, and you notice what it did is it flipped me up vertical, looking down at level 1. And so if I change that, it is just showing the things based on my level 1 settings as far as the view range for level 1 goes. So if I come back to floor plan level 1, and let's look at my view range, you can see it's set to 7'6" as being the top of that. Okay. And so that's one way you can set up an additional 3D view, so you can always look at the inside of your building without having to worry about the roof or doing a section box. Now, speaking of section boxes, there is a section box here, and it can be clicked and it can be adjusted up and down, all that kind of stuff. Or if it's hidden, it's because it was hidden in your original 3D view. Okay, so that's one way. If we were to do a section view or a 3D view of a section. Okay, and I'll show you why that could be good. We'll do it here in this one, and I'm turning it around. I wanted the far clip to be inside a wall, and then the beginning of it can be, just inside the room would be fine. And just to keep things simple, I'm going to pull those in just inside there. Okay. And so let's create, okay, so we've set up our section view here. I want to duplicate another 3D view and rename it. Okay, and now then we'll go to our context menu. Orient to view, section. I only have one section in here. And so you can see. Now, one thing that I could have done, I should have done beforehand is adjust. Well, let me just go back and do that. Oh, I got to go to section 1 to do it. Where'd my section go? There. Okay, now then we'll set it up here. Orient to view, section 1. Oh. All the tables are missing over there. Or do I have, no, I don't have far clip off. Oh, wow, that got changed. Okay. For some reason, I guess when I moved the cutting plane back, it changed that because my other furniture wasn't showing up in there. Okay, now this is kind of what we want, and I guess maybe if I were to pull those lines down, those wouldn't be showing, but it gets me a 3D view of my room. I guess I could pull pull that wall in. Oh, that's my section box that's showing up. No. I did it, didn't I? Okay. That's my section box. I was wondering what those lines were. Like, what? Okay, so let me hide that. Okay. Now, one of the interesting things about being able to do this is you can annotate a 3D view. But if you do, you can do text, but you cannot do tags as things are right now. So let me show you what happens if I do text. Okay, so I've put some text in here, and if I rotate my view around, that text stays kind of in where it was to start with. Okay, so it's rather difficult to deal with. Okay, so the thing we want to do is is we want to lock a 3D view. And we do that down here in this little icon down here in my view controls. So save orientation and lock view. Okay, so now it's locked. I can't move anything. And so I could do text. And what I felt was the cool thing that could come in handy is I can tag items. So let me load a furniture tag, annotations. Furniture tag. And of course, you know, what's going on here? Well, let's go back to hidden one. I don't know why it's not doing it, but this is, I have not messed with the furniture tag, so I'm not real sure why. Not sure why that's not working. I'll have to figure that out, I guess. Well, that worked. Because it's asking for a, it needs an input. A type mark. I guess because there's no type marks loaded into it. So that would be a way to deal with that. Maybe yeah, there's no type mark in the properties for any of these. Come on. So it looks kind of weird, you know, here with this view, but it could be if you do with furniture or furnishings a lot, that could be a way to display a room in 3D, isometric or perspective, and put furniture tags on it so that you could see how those work. So that turned out to be a problem, huh? Maybe I can do one for the cabinets. Might look a little better. Let me do that offline and then just show you an image of that. So that was locking for annotations. Okay, now if we do this and then I come back and unlock my view because I want to adjust the orientation of my view a little bit maybe, but you notice the tags disappeared. Okay. They're still there. You just can't see them because we're unlocked. So if I come back down to here and go save orientation and lock view, that will save this orientation. But if I restore orientation, it brings me back to the other one. Okay, so that will remove the tags because I moved things. So my option is restore orientation and lock view. Because what it does is it's put all these tags and the text parallel to my screen or my view there. Okay, so that was that. I'm gonna stop the video And then we're going to talk about some exploded elements in the next one.